So now we'll talk about some basics of the interpreter. And the method I've suggested, or I said I would support for you, was to use Python via the ThinLink client, but it makes it very impractical for me to record videos at the same time. So to show you the videos, I'll instead do everything on my own machine, and I'll use Python as installed on my own machine. But it should be extremely similar to what you have in the ThinLink client. So here on the right, I have a terminal, and I can just type Python, and this would start it, just as promised. I can quit, and this would quit the Python interpreter. But okay, so I'll start it again because that's the goal after all. So now in this lesson, I want to give you some basic information about how to use the interpreter. So on the left, I have some example file, and I'll take code snippets from the left and copy paste into the right. And it makes it a bit cumbersome, but this replicates the most closely what you're going to do for real, and at the same time makes it practical for me to film those videos. So for instance, here I'm taking some operations on integers that I'm copying and pasting on the right. And you see that each time the interpreter asks for an input with three arrows like this, and I'm entering my input, and then it prints some output. Now you can see a few things here. The input on the left had comments that were preceded with this sharp symbol here. So that's a comment. The interpreter will not act on this. So you can see on the right that those three arrows became three dots because the interpreter is still expecting my command and just waiting for something that I enter. And then I put in 27 plus 6, so I copy pasted, but it would be the same thing if I entered it by hand. So it's performing the arithmetic operation just like a basic calculator and returning 33. Same thing with 3 times 8. By the way, for all the screencasts I'm doing, you can look at the bottom and you will find the exact same file as I have on the left. And so you can use it in your own interpreter in parallel to the videos. And actually, it's very recommended that you do that. So don't hesitate to pause the video and try out and experiment things on the side yourself. So again, this is at the bottom below this video. Okay, so that was for some basic arithmetic operations. So let's start to do things that you might not be able to do with a basic calculator, like assigning values to variables. So here I've used the equal sign to say that to Python that now the name x should be bound to the value 3. Same thing for the name y, that should be bound to the value 4, and so on and so on. And here, something slightly unusual, I've asked Python to assign the value 1 to both a, b, and c. Okay, so if I have assigned those variable names now, some values to those variable names, it means I can ask for them back again. So I could ask for x, which was 3, y, which was 4, and b, that was 1, for instance. So that's one statement here that does multiple assignments at once. I can also put multiple statements here separated by semicolons, and this does exactly the same. And similarly, I can ask back for Python, the interpreter, to print back each of those, and this is what it does. Okay, so this was for some basic operations with the interpreter with integers. But let's see with strings. So with strings, we can do the same thing. So a string is created by using double quotes, or single quotes, and it's actually printed here with single quotes. So somehow a choice was made by Python to display this with a single quote. I can also assign the variable to the variable text the value hello world, and then I type text and hello world is printed. I can explicitly ask Python to print this value, the value text, and this it does here. So notice a subtle difference here between what's with quotes and what's without quotes. So in this part, I'm asking the interpreter to tell me everything it knows about the variable text. And the interpreter is returning, sure, the content, the value of text, but also some meta information about the type. It's telling me with the quotes that this is a string. Well, if I do print text, I'm essentially, it's not quite true, but I'm essentially asking the interpreter to print the value of text. And the value of text is just hello world, not a string hello world. Okay, so this is a bit subtle, but this is already an interesting nuance. Now, the final thing we can do is we can print several strings at once. And you can see the syntax here. We split different parts of strings with variable names, and Python just aggregates all of that into one string to be printed. So that was for a basic interaction pattern with the interpreter. And we'll now go into more advanced Python objects, still very basic, but slightly more advanced than what we just saw.